Hello and welcome to Sam Not So Wise. My name is Sam. Today I'm going to talk about something that I've not really talked about on the channel at all, which is classic works of fiction. So people who have watched my channel before will know that I'm mostly a sci-fi and fantasy reader, and I always will be. They are my absolute favourites. But I do sometimes read outside of genre fiction, contemporary, lit fic, whatever you want to call it. And I have read some classics. Now, not many, but I'm going to whip through the ones that I've read and let you know what I thought about them. But the real reason I'm doing this video is because I want to start implementing more works of classic fiction into my reading. One every other month or something like that, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. And I'm going to tell you what I think I want to read, but I want recommendations of what you think, what you lovely people think I should be reading in the future in terms of classic fiction, because I don't really know much about it. Now, hopefully that will change as I learn more in my English degree, but it's always good to hear from the people. So I'm a bit ill, so please forgive me if I'm croaky or anything. So with that and much further ado, let's talk about classics. Now, quickly before I start talking about the books themselves, I kind of just want to address the question of what is a classic, because it's quite hard to define what a classic is, right? I mean, I feel like any genre, is it even a genre, is difficult to really define. So what the hell is a classic is the first question I'll ask. So how I'm considering it is, I mean, generally they're considered as books that stand the test of time. So generally they're a bit older, right? So I'm going to consider books that are written 1950 and before. You know, everybody's going to have a different concept. That's just where I am laying the line for this video. So, you know, I saw when I was looking up books that I might want to read for this, I saw some books that were written in the 1990s described as classics. Now, like, surely that cannot yet be a classic. It's a weird question. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, I'm considering books from 1950s and earlier. So let's whip through the books and authors that I've read that can be considered as classics. Now, it's funny that I said I haven't read much in terms of classic fiction, but my second favourite author, George Orwell, can be considered as a classic author, in my opinion, and many other people's opinions, including Penguin. Because this is a modern classic? That's another thing. What's a modern classic? Anyway, George Orwell is my second favourite author of all time. I've read every single one of his books. You know, they're up and down in how much I enjoy them, but my favourite book of all time, 1984, is by George Orwell, and he has many other books that I consider to be brilliant, Burmese Days being one of them. I'll pop my top 10 authors list in the description, by the way. And continuing with the theme of my channel, I'll talk about a couple of sci-fi classics. So we have Brave New World. Again, I'm a big dystopian fan, and this is one of the best. I absolutely love A Brave New World. And we also have H.G. Wells. I've only read 2 of his books, but I've enjoyed both of them. I've read The Time Machine. Look at that cover. Is it not absolutely gorgeous? Oh, you're a beautiful man. Weird book, but still really fun. But my preferred out of the 2 that I've read is The War of the Worlds. What a brilliant alien invasion story. This is proper classic sci-fi, and I really enjoyed reading this. Next we have Dracula, so in the supernatural fantasy realms, a little bit older than these ones, and again, I really enjoyed this book. It was not exactly what I was expecting, but I really enjoyed it. We have the good old classic Frankenstein. Now, I felt a bit iffy about this book. I didn't really know what to expect going into it, and it was just completely not what I thought it would be. And I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like amazing. But the more I move away from it, the more I appreciate it, and I really should reread this because I think there's just so much you can get out of this book. It's very deep, and yeah, really good, really. So moving away from the genre side, I read this, I just randomly picked this up in a shop. The Good Earth by Pearl S. Buck. Now, wow, this was a really surprisingly wonderful book. Absolute roller coaster ride of kind of like a Chinese impoverished farmer, I guess you'd call him, and he's just rise from being that farmer to being extremely influential and rich later in his life. It's a real roller coaster ride. I recommend you read this, and more people should talk about this. I want to reread this as well. Louisa May Alcott, Little Women. I read this when I was like a teenager or something, but even though I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I would now, it was extremely emotional, and the ending really, really hit me, and I will always remember that feeling I got from this wonderful book. I'm going to talk about Louisa May Alcott a little bit more later. John Steinbeck, of course, of Mice and Men. It's the only one I read from him. Again, talk about an emotional ending and just tugging at the heartstrings of these brilliant characters. Tiny little book, and I really, really enjoyed that. Again, I read this one when I was quite young, Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. This was just fascinating to me as this survival story. You know, everybody loves Castaway, so it was really interesting to see this really old school version of that kind of story. I don't know why, but even just the mundanity of the survival on this island, it just really, really gripped me. Maybe it was because I was a Boy Scout when I was younger, I don't know, but I really enjoyed this book. Oh, talking about emotional books, To Kill a Mockingbird. Wow, what a wonderful, depressing story. And just, I've read this twice, and both times it was just really emotionally impactful. Now, there's a few more I'm going to talk about, and I don't own them anymore, which may tell you a little bit about how I think about them. So, Wuthering Heights, you know, I really liked the vibe of this story, the feel of the story, but I did not like the plot, the romance, or the characters. So that one was a little bit iffy for me. I also read To the Lighthouse a couple of years ago by Virginia Woolf. I didn't enjoy this much at all. It felt quite aimless, but I don't know, maybe I'm just too stupid to understand it properly. It wasn't like awful, I just didn't really like it. Another one I read and didn't enjoy was Catcher in the Rye. I mean, I know the main character isn't really meant to be likable, but I really didn't like him, and the story was just boring to me. I really just don't quite understand what's so great about it. Please let me know why it's so great, because I don't understand. Heart of Darkness by Conrad. Again, I've read that twice trying to enjoy it, but for me it was just meh. I just didn't really get what's supposed to be so good about it. Maybe I'll change if I read it now. I have no idea. And another one, The Great Gatsby, just felt like a waste of my time, to be honest. But again, maybe I'd appreciate it now because I read that many, many, many years ago. So that's about it for all of the classics that I've read. So as I mentioned briefly before, I am actually a student. I went back to university, and I'm just at the end of my first term of my first year of an English degree. So in this first year, there is quite a wide range of subjects, not a lot of literature, but I can choose more literature modules after my first year. So for the next 12 months, I know I'm going to be reading some classics. So I know I'm going to be reading Jane Eyre. I'm interested in trying more of the Bronte sisters, even if I didn't like Wuthering Heights. Like, I need to try more stuff, and I will be forced to read this in class, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be reading A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I've never read any Dickens. For some reason, I'm a little bit reluctant with Dickens. I don't know what it is. I kind of feel like I'll enjoy it because of his kind of focus on the poor people. So I should like that because I like that in other books. So I don't know. So we'll see with that. Hopefully I'll enjoy it and go from there. Let me know what Dickens I should read. We're going to be reading Frankenstein, so I will get to reread it like I said I wanted to. So that's brilliant. And then I have a course that's called British Literature from 1603 to 1789. But there's no reading list put on the website at the moment, so I don't actually know what I'll be reading, so who knows. And I'm also going to be doing, in my second year, I'm going to be doing James Joyce, a module on James Joyce. Now, I'm a little bit frightened because I've heard it's very complex, very strange writing, but also excited at the same time that I can have a teacher hold my hand whilst I'm reading some Joyce, so maybe I'll appreciate it more than if I was just reading it on my own. So I own a few classic books that I've picked up at secondhand shops, so they are more likely to be read sooner rather than later, and I think the first one is going to be Mark Twain and the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Now, I read a couple of his short stories in my American Lit Fic module this semester, and I just really like the idea of Mark Twain. He sounded like a really interesting fellow, so I'm going to start with this very famous book. One author who I think I'm going to gel with the more I read of him is John Steinbeck. I don't really know why, but I just have that feeling. And I'm going to start with The Grapes of Wrath. And this really interests me because of the topic of the book, especially having done an American history module this semester also. So I find that topic quite fascinating. So I think this one's going to be a hit. The other one that I own is another Virginia Woolf, and it's Orlando. Now, I might hold off with this one because I think in maybe a year or a year and a half, there's a module that I'll be able to do that has this in it. I don't know. I'm quite interested in this one because it's kind of sci-fi-ish in a way. So I really want to try and see what she did with this kind of weird time travel aspect that she has in this book. So I'm very interested in that. Maybe I'll read it sooner than, you know, the module. So as for other authors that I'm interested in, now this is where you guys really have to come in and help me decide what I'm going to read. So I haven't read any Jane Austen, which is pretty shameful as a British person who considers themselves a feminist. So Pride and Prejudice is probably the most obvious one. I think I'll probably enjoy it if I read it. So let me know if I should try that. I haven't tried any of the Russian authors. They're obviously not going to come up in my English degree. So Dostoevsky, not read any of him. I've heard great things about the brothers Karamazov. Especially Shanin from Shanin Shelf has talked about that a lot. So let me know if I should read that. Haven't read any Tolstoy. The one that appeals to me the most is Death of Ivan Ilyich. Suitably dark and depressing and self-reflective. So let me know if I should read that. Someone who really interests me is Franz Kafka. And probably I would start with Metamorphosis. I just hear that he did really interesting new things within the literary genre, so that appeals to me a lot. Let me know if I should read any Kafka. So Louisa May Alcott, like I said, I enjoyed Little Women. I've read a couple of her short stories for my Lit Fic class this year, and I've just enjoyed everything I've read by her, like really brilliant emotional stories. So I want to read Hospital Sketches, which is about her time. Well, it's like a fictionalized version of her time when she was working as a nurse in the American Civil War. And just also more short stories from her. I think she's brilliant. Jules Verne. So I want to read Journey to the Center of the Earth. He's kind of like one of the oldest sci-fi writers, so I feel like I have to read some Jules Verne. Let me know if that's a good choice or if I should choose something else. Not really interested in Around the World in 80 Days. Nathaniel Hawthorne, again, I've read a couple of his short stories this semester and I really enjoyed him. He was kind of weird. So his most famous novel is The Scarlet Letter. So if I find that in a secondhand bookshop, I'm picking that up straight away and reading it. I haven't read any Daphne du Maurier either, so I'd probably start with Rebecca, kind of the classic Gothic fiction author that people talk about. I need to try her. So those are the kind of ones that I'm thinking of will be sooner rather than later, but I really want to hear from you, wonderful viewers, what I should prioritize from those authors or just anything else that you recommend. I'm really looking to diversify my reading and introduce more classics, so let me know what I am missing out on. So that's it for today's video on classic fiction. As I said, this is a plea for help, so please put your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm sure as I move through university, I will be introduced to more authors and more books in the classic world. But for now, I need your help, so please let me know. So if you've made it this far into the video, I thank you so much as always. If you're new to the channel, please think about subscribing and see how I get on with these classics that I'm going to read, as well as my usual SFF books. If you liked the video, please press the like button. But that is it for now, so I'll see you with another video soon. Goodbye.